First on 4, a new regime for the body politic in the Number 10 show.
Massive and fundamental constitutional reform. British troops out for hire to the United Nations. Protection for all workers courtesy of Brussels. And it's goodbye to Westminster for MPs of the 21st century.
We've been underestimating the talents of the British people for far too long. We must make these changes if we're going to have a credible future. Let's hope I can carry the people with me.
Next week's programme introduces Britain's first black PM, Herman Ousley, the current chairman of the Commission for Racial Equality.
Now, in the first of 3 programmes being shown this week on BBC Two concerned with the breakdown of marriage, a guide to gaining a divorce in the 18th century.
Divorce for the right to remarry was almost impossible in the 18th century compared with today, where it's very common indeed, in fact normal. The stories we're going to hear now concern 3 very different families. The Beauforts were a hugely wealthy aristocratic couple whose marriage was arranged to bring together immense properties and estates. The Dinleys were crude and unsophisticated rural landowners who chose to marry one another for money. The Middletons were a Catholic family living later in the century, whose marriage would have been based on affection and intimacy. But first, the Beauforts. This is a story of marital breakdown at the highest social level. It was an arranged marriage to secure and unite enormous property interests, and it reveals the vital importance of a legitimate male heir. It shows how life and love were conducted in the great houses of the time, where there was no privacy. Servants were able to observe everything that went on and could exploit knowledge of adultery for financial gain.
The door.
And then there is David and Bathsheba, how he spied her naked in her bath, washing herself, the moonlight creamy on her skin, her hair lustrous with water, and her not knowing she was observed as she rubbed the scented oils into her skin. And then there is Antony and Cleopatra, King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, Jason and Medea, Tarquin and Lucretia, Nero and Poppaea.
Get out out, you slut.
You shall not go.
I say she shall. Go, you're hurting me. You think I don't know what filth goes on between you and my husband? You're not his wife. Why should he be your husband? I want you out of his house.
Not after Mary.
He wanted revenge against the servant. And that's not just, I think, sexual jealousy, it's also class sentiment. Not only has he been cuckolded, he's been cuckolded by someone from the lower orders. And to a member of the 18th century elite, that must have been very, very hard to bear indeed.
Another one or your money back or...
Because I don't know about you girls, but in my experience, when it comes to peeling spuds, most men run for the hills. Well, this is a turbo peel, and it looks like it could change everything. I've even got Rick here into a penny. Very fetching, Rick.
Thanks, Donna. Not sure it's my colour. But there is a serious point to make here. Turbo peel is so easy to use, it's actually quite...
Well, I mean, even if you're both totally settled, you know, there's no harm in still looking around, seeing what's out there. And I mean, he doesn't mind, do you?
No, of course I don't mind. It's healthy.
I've been through quite a few.
Quite a few. Some of them have been absolute wrecks.
This feels like the one. But if it gains a few pounds, I'm definitely partial to getting rid of it.
Whether buying, renting or just browsing, visit zoopla.co.uk, voted Britain's best property website.
GMTV's weather with Going Places for a brighter outlook.
Morning.
What?
Hi, Donna. How is your workout, Donna? How's my minty, fresh, garlic-free breath, Donna?
You are mentally ill. I just realized. After all these years, that's what it is.
Sam, did you make that phone call about the television?
What?
The television. Did you ring them?
Right, yeah. No, not really. Well, I didn't need to in the end because Ben fixed it.
Did he?
Yeah.
The States of Mind season continues now on BBC Two with The Asylum War.
It is May 1815. In the corridors of Westminster, a Yorkshire magistrate, Godfrey Higgins, waits to be called before a parliamentary committee. He will present evidence of cruelty and fraud at the York Lunatic Asylum, stretching back over 30 years.
The committee is just gathering, sir. If I could take your particulars. Name? Godfrey George Higgins. Occupation? Gentleman. Magistrate of the West Riding of Yorkshire, and for the last 18 months, Governor of the York Asylum. Place of residence? Skellow Grange, near Ferrybridge, Doncaster. Pleasant journey to London?
Also waiting is the man Higgins holds responsible for the abuses at the asylum, and whose reputation he has vowed to destroy.
Good morning, sir.
Dr. Charles Best, Little Blake Street, York.
May I know your occupation?
Physician. Physician to the York Asylum. Until March this year.
Thank you, sir.
A month before the armies of Europe clash on the fields of Waterloo, these two men are about to fight a final battle, which will change forever the way in which the insane are treated. At the time of the York affair, attitudes to madness had changed little since the Middle Ages.
Until the late 18th century, most people treated the mentally ill as animals. The medieval view was that they were devil-possessed, and therefore you had to beat the devil out of them. And the rougher they were treated, the better. Most people who were mentally ill became poor, or stole, or got violent, or otherwise broke the law, and so they went into poorhouses and jails, and there was nowhere else for them to go.
Traditionally, the mad were viewed as almost off the ladder of humanity, that they were brutes devoid of sense.
Letter to the York Current. I think it my duty to lay before you certain facts which came publicly before me as a magistrate respecting a lunatic of the name of William Vickers. He was sent to the asylum by my orders, against his friend's consent.
Today, the vast asylums built in the 19th century, inspired largely by the York Retreat's example, are closing, and their patients return to the community. Samuel Tuke died in 1857 and was buried at the retreat. He founded a dynasty of doctors who specialised in the care of the insane. Charles Best died of tuberculosis in Nice in 1817, 2 years after his fall from grace. Godfrey Higgins died in Doncaster some 20 years later. His obituary in the York Courant said of him, "His exertions will be monuments of his public spirit and perseverance, which many will have reason to be grateful for, long after the present generation shall have passed away."